Hi, my name is Kinley Gann, and I'm going to be explaining the water cycle. So, the water cycle is a process that moves water from the ocean to the atmosphere. Water is something that cannot be created by man, and it covers 70% of the earth. So, water is really a big deal to us, as you know. There are 4 steps involved in the water cycle. Now, when I was growing up and we learned about the water cycle, we were only taught the basics. We were only taught that there was 3 steps, and they left out the fourth and final step, which I will cover in the last part of the presentation. But the water cycle is how the earth recycles water. So the earth has been recycling water for millions of years. So a fun fact is the water that we drink nowadays could be the same water that dinosaurs drank millions of years ago, which I think that's really cool that somehow or another we've kept this water going and the earth has kept water recycling like it has. Okay, so the first step of evaporation is the water from the ocean is heated up by the sun. Well, this forms steam, which turns into vapor, or steam/vapor, and it rises into the atmosphere. If evaporation did not occur, the water cycle would not happen because that's how the clouds form and that starts the whole process. So step 2 is condensation. This step occurs after evaporation and after the water vapor cools down. The condensation forms into clouds in the atmosphere. Now, condensation is also the water on the side of your glass after a drink sits for a while. So I thought that was really cool. Step 3, precipitation. Precipitation can fall in many different ways, such as rain, sleet, snow, hail. And see, we're used to the rain and the sleet and the hail, but not really the snow. So, but this occurs all over because that's how the earth falls back onto, or the water falls back onto the earth. This occurs when the clouds become full and they build up and they become big. That's when precipitation occurs. Now, when precipitation occurs and the water falls back down to earth, the higher level or higher altitudes or higher level of earth, it can't just stay there. So there's things called, or there's a process called runoff. Now, the runoff water is the draining away of water on Earth's surface, and now the water will run off into the river or ocean, and sometimes the water will infiltrate or seep into the ground. And I've put a picture of on this PowerPoint how it goes. And now the water that doesn't flow away and doesn't flow into the ocean or doesn't flow into the rivers, it becomes groundwater and soil water. Groundwater is water that is stored on the earth or under the earth's surface in aquifers. Aquifers now are natural reservoirs underground made out of rock or minerals. This is just how the earth stores and how the earth produces little miracles that you wouldn't understand, but they're underground and they keep the water there. Now, there's such thing called fossil water, and that's water that has been found that has been in an aquifer underground for thousands of years. And then there's soil water. Soil water is water that remains in the soil particles on the ground. So the plants that are around, they soak this water up in order to get their nutrients. Water can also be stored. It doesn't have to just be stored in aquifers or in soil water, or it can also be stored in ice caps and glaciers, which is really fascinating that it can store there too. Okay, and now the final step that we didn't learn about and that it kind of confused me when I was reading it or studying it was transpiration. And the reason why this was so difficult for me to understand was because it'd been nailed in my head that there was only like 3 steps. So this step is the process in which water is evaporated from plant leaves. Now, 90% of the water or the moisture found in the atmosphere is from evaporation and that process, but 10% of the moisture found in the atmosphere comes from this process by itself. So once the plants soak up the soil water and get their nutrients, and the water goes throughout the plant and goes into their leaves, the leaves will be the water will evaporate from the leaves and the whole process starts over again. So that is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.